Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. We're going to start with my favorite story. Tucker Carlson leaves Fox News in wake of Dominion defamation settlements. Now, if you don't know who Tucker Carlson is, he's the Kremlin's favorite mouthpiece here in the United States on cable news. Any wild conspiracies or Kremlin talking points, Tucker Carlson, for the last 9 years, has just been repeating them. Anything that makes Ukraine look bad or Russia looks good, this is what Tucker Carlson has been broadcasting every night. And if you need video evidence, here he is admitting that he's rooting for Russia to win this war.
So Hunter Biden didn't. I know Hunter Biden. I actually like Hunter Biden, but that's totally corrupt and you know it. Why is it worse to ask about it than it is to do it?
Because people are dying on the front lines. You think it's a joke?
Why do I care? Why do I care what's going on in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And I'm serious. Like, why do I care? And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
Because those of us who are watching, myself, who think preserving democracy is important.
Why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am? So what Tucker Carlson was doing was taking Kremlin propaganda and broadcasting it on his own show in the United States every night. And then Kremlin State TV would show clips of Tucker Carlson's show to their own people. It's a serpent eating its own tail, but this allowed Russia to show clips from an American broadcaster just repeating all of their talking points. And here's the headline. Tucker Carlson is practically one of the co-hosts on Russian state TV, says Media Monitor. And the joke on Twitter, now that he's been fired, is he's going to go work for RT News. But it's not really a joke because the official Twitter account for RT, 3 million followers, they announced Tucker Carlson breaks up with Fox News, and then they offer him a job. Hey, Tucker Carlson, you can always question more with RT News. Wow. So this is a good time to let you guys know about Ground News. I've talked about them in the past. And what Ground News is a news aggregation website that exposes the political bias of various news organizations. So if you go onto their website and mobile app, you'll be given stories in real time, such as this one. Tucker Carlson leaves Fox News in wake of Dominion defamation settlement. Ground News will tell you how many news sources have covered this topic, 377. It'll show you the bias distribution of these organizations, the ownership, and the factuality. But what I like about Ground News is you can sort all of the articles here on the left by either left, center, or right. And this allows you to see kind of how left-leaning and right-leaning news organizations cover the same story. So if we sort by right, here we are, Fox News. Tucker Carlson, Fox News Media agreed to part ways. This sounds pretty friendly, pretty amicable. But if we sort by left-leaning organizations, we get completely different headlines. Tucker Carlson, Fox News' most popular host, out at the network. If we scroll down, we can see headlines such as, why did Fox News fire Tucker Carlson? What we know. So it's pretty fascinating. I just want to let you guys know that I've been using Ground News for the last 4 months. It's the first website I go to when I begin researching these update videos. So if you want to stay up to date and have transparency in your news, head over to Ground News to check them out or sign up today for unlimited access. Be sure to use my link, ground.news/jakebro, so they know I sent you. Thank you so much to Ground News for sponsoring today's video. The next story we should follow up on concerns the Chinese ambassador to France. Baltic states condemn China envoy's remarks over sovereignty of ex-Soviet nations. So 3 days ago, the Chinese ambassador to France gave a bizarre interview in which he stated, the former Soviet republics, like Ukraine, have no effective status in international law. They are not sovereign states. So according to this guy, countries like Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, they're not real countries. They have no sovereignty. I don't know, maybe this guy doesn't even recognize the reunification of East and West Germany. So of course, the Chinese government had to put out a statement. China says it respects the sovereignty of ex-Soviet states after controversial comments from its ambassador to France. China's foreign ministry spokesperson Mao Ning stated that Beijing respects the status of the former Soviet republics as sovereign countries after the Soviet Union's dissolution, adding that the country's position remains unchanged. So I don't know what the deal with this guy is. Hopefully he's recalled back to Beijing so they can straighten his head out. Okay, next story. Ukrainian troop positions spark counteroffensive speculation. So on the community tab of my YouTube channel, I asked you guys, when do you think Ukraine's next massive counterattack will begin? 13,000 people voted. And people are telling me in the comment section that it's already begun. And they're saying this because Ukrainian forces have crossed the Dnipro River near the city of Kherson and have set up camps in this marsh swampland. And I'm going to dispute this. I don't think this is a real counteroffensive. Here's a tweet from Defmon. So before people go crazy, no, there is no cross-Dnipro offensive. There is no bridgehead. There are scattered reports of Ukrainian forces having positions on the left bank of the river. This has been happening since the city of Kherson was liberated. It's a roadless swamp. So when we look at the map, this is not exactly civilization right here, and Russian forces don't want to occupy or camp out in this region because it's easy targeting for drone operators in the city of Kherson. So because Russian forces choose to remain slightly farther back, Ukrainian forces can use boats to cross the river and then make camp in this marshy area. But is this the large-scale counteroffensive? And no, it's not. What else has been happening? And apparently Russia says there was a drone attack on the port city of Sevastopol. Two kamikaze boat drones went into the harbor. And there are pictures and videos, but it happened at night and they're not very good. And yeah, I think Ukraine just wants to continue to harass the ships at this port. They're not allowed to feel comfortable. This is great. A Ukrainian drone has been found outside the city of Moscow. So apparently Ukraine got a drone packed with explosives within 70 miles of Moscow. It actually crashed in the woods slightly east of the city. And what's happening here is that Ukraine is trying to keep the pressure on the Russians everywhere in leading up to their massive counteroffensive. So crossing the river with attacks in the Kherson region, holding on to parts of the city in Bakhmut, drone attacks close to Moscow, attacks on the port city of Sevastopol in Crimea. What's happening here is they're just spreading it out in order to panic the forces in these regions. So Russian forces in the Kherson region are asking for more resources. Russian forces in Bakhmut, of course, want more resources. People in Moscow want more resources to defend the city. And people in Crimea want more resources to defend the port city of Sevastopol. So where I'm not seeing a lot of activity is in Zaporizhia and Luhansk, the two most likely places where Ukraine will launch their spring counteroffensive. These are just my amateur observations of what's going on with all of these scattered and random attacks, but it does seem like this is leading up to something. And the number one determining factor when Ukraine will go is the weather. I think operationally they're ready now, but they're just waiting for more favorable conditions in order to move massive equipment. So here's my obligatory video to show you of what the weather is currently like in Ukraine. It sounds nice, it sounds peaceful, but I would not want to be sitting in that trench. Let's now check in on the front lines, and the city of Bakhmut continues to hold. Not really. The Russians have captured 80% of the city. And what I think the Ukrainians are doing, once again, stalling for time, but I think they are deliberately pulling out of Bakhmut. What they might be doing is purposely withdrawing from city blocks, maybe one block every 48 hours, leaving booby traps and surprises for the Russians as they pull back. I do think a net positive amount of Ukrainian defenders are leaving the city rather than rushing back in. The plan obviously is never to reinforce or hold the city to recapture it. Once again, it's just about buying time, as the massive spring counteroffensive is either going to happen up here in Luhansk or down here in Zaporizhia. And we've got good news for an update on the front lines. Roman's back. Roman, I think, had about 2 or 3 weeks leave, and he spent it in the city of Kyiv with family and friends. But here he is, back on the front lines with an update.
Hey, voices for Ukraine. It's Roman again from Bakhmut area. It's time to return from Kyiv vacation to the battlefield. Whoa, it was crazy rocket shelling here. So, what can I say? Living in trenches, it's a very crazy thing, and I still can't believe that I'm not in Kyiv. I'm here in dirty and 24/7 in very dangerous place. But our mission is not over, so we must continue fighting for our freedom and for victory. That's why we must risk in our life and continue be on the battlefield, because it's only who can stop these hellish things. That's why we must be here, not in comfortable Kyiv, but it's just temporary, because soon we will win this war and we'll celebrate our victory. Be in touch. See you later, guys.
I hope that Roman stays safe. And this is a disturbing headline. Wagner boss says forces won't take any more prisoners in Ukraine. So the chief of Russia's Wagner Group, Prigozhin, said his men fighting in the flashpoint eastern city of Bakhmut would kill rival soldiers and take no prisoners. We will kill everyone on the battlefield, take no more prisoners of war. Of course, this is a war crime, but at this point, Russia doesn't really care. It really would be nice if someone could finally take this guy out. But the power and influence of the Wagner Group is fading, probably never to return. They're not allowed to recruit any more prisoners. They can't convince people in Russia to join the forces. So every time they lose a soldier, their size and influence is just shrinking. I do think within 6 months, nobody's going to be talking about the Wagner Group or Prigozhin anymore. And here's a cool headline. General Staff of Ukraine reports shootout between Wagner and regular Russian forces in the Luhansk Oblast. So a fight broke out between soldiers of the Russian army and Wagner mercenaries, in the occupied town of Stanitizia. This happened on April 23rd. And what's happening here as Russia continues to struggle, there are limited resources for all these different groups. The LPR, DPR fighters, the Chechens, the Wagnerites, and the regular Russian military. They all want more assistance, more resources, more stuff. But they can't all have everything they want. So they're fighting with each other for limited resources, in addition to blaming each other for Russia's failure to make progress on the battlefield. Here's a hilarious headline. Moscow slams the United States after Russian journalists were denied visas for UN visits. Russia will not forgive after claiming US barred their journalists from visiting the United States. So what's happening here is the UN General Assembly is in New York City, and initially the State Department was not giving visas to the Russian delegation. This is Foreign Minister Lavrov. Eventually they changed their mind to allow Lavrov to attend the UN General Assembly, but they barred all the Russian journalists who normally accompany the Russian delegation. I just find it hilarious that this is what Russia will not forgive the United States for doing. Never mind all of that military assistance. And what's happening here is the United States is looking for a way to respond to Russia arresting an American journalist. So this is Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, and a couple weeks ago he was charged with being a spy for the West. And I've got a news flash for the Russians. I don't think the CIA would risk the life of a Wall Street journal by recruiting them to be a spy inside of Russia. Whatever Evan was doing at the time, I guarantee you it was journalism and not spying. Evan is from New Jersey, and what I want to argue is that the CIA does not need to recruit any Americans to spy on Russia because there are plenty of Russians inside of Russia willing to spy for Western intelligence. They want the money, they want the, relocation program if they ever have to flee the country. So no, Evan Gershkovich is not a spy, and he's being held unlawfully by the Russians. So hopefully the United States can find a way in order to secure his release, but Russia is going to continue doing this, kidnapping Westerners in order to, keep up the media circus and their propaganda campaign against Western journalists. Here's a couple more headlines. Russia faces record workforce shortage during a wartime. Russian companies across a wide range of sectors are facing record staff shortages this year as the country grapples with population decline, a wartime exodus, and military losses amid its offensive in Ukraine. So the Russian government is spending like crazy, desperate to save this war. But Russian industry, Russian manufacturing, can't find the workers to meet demand. Hundreds of thousands of able-bodied Russian men have fled the country. Hundreds of thousands of able-bodied men have been conscripted or mobilized into the military. And Russia's population is rapidly aging. People are becoming too old or too weak to work a manufacturing job. And for the remaining Russian women in the country, I just wanted to share this clip. Russia's dystopia is here and now. Warehouse workers at Wildberries, a Russian ripoff of Amazon, go through strip searches before starting and ending their shifts to mitigate thefts. So this is very degrading for Russian women, and I get the argument why they would want to strip search them when leaving the warehouse to prevent theft, but why would you strip search them as they go into the warehouse? Russian thinking. And here's a video that I think everyone needs to see. Russians are booby-trapping lighters that they leave behind when they retreat from certain areas. So let me show you this crazy clip.
Що? Чому не можна брати чужі зажигалки? І взагалі підбирати.
Трошки далі відійду.
Ні, там мінімально. 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 Бачили? Ну, то тепер бачите.
So it's a very small explosive, but if you're gripping it tightly with your hand, holding it close to your face, it's going to do a lot of damage. Let's get to some good news and check out these amazing pictures of Bradley infantry fighting vehicles repainted in pixel camo, covered in their camouflage netting. I just love seeing these American vehicles in Ukraine helping out. And we've even got a video. This is from the 47th Motorized Brigade, taking their new Bradleys for a test drive. The weather is looking better. Final couple of feel-good clips. The first one is of a Ukrainian defender who's a very talented sculptor, and in his free time, he likes to sculpt in his trench. I've seen this guy's work before online. He's really talented. Final clip I have for you is from Jay in Kyiv, and here's a video of the capital city of Kyiv and what it looks like this week. These do not look like a people about to surrender to the Russians. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support my channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.